and I have taken the liberty of designating myself as your anytime piano teacher friend. I love to think about the human condition and how that shows up in the music studio. You too? Oh, good. Let's link arms together and move beyond the status quo so we can build valuable musical experiences that impact our students for a lifetime. Sound like a plan? Excellent. Let's get on with the show. Okay, friends, I don't have to tell you about the dangers of the word should, do I? I didn't think so. When I consult with teachers to help them solve whatever problem is ailing them, the word should is almost always at the root of their questions. You feel like you should be doing this, or that piano lessons should include that. The word should is hands down one of the most problematic words in our teacher vocabulary, and we're taking a deep dive on it today. Before we go any further, I'd just like to say this. Today, I am going to use several examples of things that my teacher consultation clients have said to me. I want to be very clear that I have only chosen examples that I have heard from multiple teachers. I don't want anyone to listen to this and think I'm singling them out because my clients' privacy and dignity matter to me, and I'm not here airing any one person's dirty laundry on the podcast today. Okay? Okay. Here's the problem with the word should. If you try to do something just because you think you should, it's pretty much destined for failure. Great teachers, by nature, are curious people. We are successful in what we do because we ask ourselves how our instruments work and why our students are behaving the way they are. Seeking information beyond the surface is what we do. I don't know about you, but I've been around some pretty inquisitive children. Do you know the least effective thing you can say to an inquisitive child? It's that age-old retort, "Because I said so." Those words make sense to us as parents, but from the eyes of a curious child, they are not going to cut it. Some humans are born to ask questions. I happen to think that we, the music teachers of the world, are some of those people. We need to be curious teachers, which means these tropes of what a piano teacher should do are never going to be effective until we understand the merits of the thing we are seeking to do. It bears noting that the point of this show has never been to tell teachers what they should be doing. But I guess today I am here telling you that you should be examining your shoulds. So, okay, on to things I hear over and over again from consult clients. I get a lot of questions about how to teach certain things: technique, scales, rote pieces, sight reading, chords, improvisation, rhythm, historical styles. The list goes on and on. And my first question to teachers is always this: why do you think it's important to teach this thing? I'm here to tell you, this question sends a lot of my clients into a tizzy. They either can't come up with an answer, or they say, you guessed it, well, I should be teaching this, right? I'm beginning to see this as a disturbing trend, and I don't actually think it's anything new, but there are these beliefs about what a piano teacher should do in lessons. And there are a lot of us out there parading around as these caricatures of what we think a piano lesson is supposed to look like. And I'm here to tell you, if you are not convinced that what you're doing has deep merit, your students are never going to get it. But here's the thing though. The internet is full of people telling you to stop shoulding on yourself. I'm sure I'm not the first person to tell you not to do something just because you think you should. You're probably assuming that I'm going to tell you today to release those faulty expectations that you have of yourself and just teach in a way that's true to you. Well, that's not exactly it today. I'm not here today simply to tell you to dismiss the things you think you should be doing in your life but don't want to. Here's my twist. I've encountered a lot of those cases. I've helped release a lot of teachers from the trappings of the shoulds that they have placed on themselves unnecessarily. But more often than not, I actually agree with the questions that teachers are bringing me. I happen to think we should be teaching our students scales and technique and chords and improvisation. I think we should have some rote teaching pieces in our back pocket, at the very least, to pull out and use as necessary. But the problem is, you are never going to be effective at teaching any of those things if you're doing it just because I said so. Or because you read a thread on an online piano teacher group that made you feel left out. Or because a colleague does something that you don't do. These motivations are never going to be enough to get you to where you want to be. So my question today for you is this: what should is nagging at you today? I think most of us have 1 or 20 of those floating around our brains at any given time. So what is yours? What do you think you should be doing more of or less of? Do you have something in mind? If there's more than one thing, just try to stay focused on one for now. Okay, so now I have to ask you, the thing you think you should be doing? Why do you think it matters? Why do you think you should be doing it or not doing it? Let's dive into some examples that I've heard from my clients many times over, shall we? First up, scales. Scales, arpeggios, chord progressions. There are way too many teachers out there teaching these things as though they are just rites of passage for pianists. Like they are things we do because our teachers told us to, and their teachers told them to, and on the cycle goes, right? Friends, if you do not understand why scales are a fundamental part of the pianistic experience, no student of yours will understand either. The answer to this particular question has many, many responses. In my eyes, scales are beneficial in 100 different ways. Yes, we see them in the repertoire. That's an answer that gets bandied about the most, but it's not my primary reason. I could write an entire episode on scales, and probably will at some point in the future, but here are 2 foundational reasons to teach your students scales. 1, they establish a path for pieces to live on. Maybe that sounds strange, but that's literally how I sell my students on scales. I tell them a scale blazes a trail. It creates a path on which we can build our pieces. That way, when my students play a piece in the key of G major, they understand that piece is built on that very specific path on the keys. Scales blaze trails. 2, scales are relatively simple patterns we memorize in our fingers so we can focus on our actual technique. They give us something we can play with ease so we can study how we're using our fingers and our wrists and our forearms, etc. When we're working on repertoire, our brains are busy with so many things. But in scales, once those pathways and fingerings are established, we are free to study our actual physical approach to the instrument. Again, there are boatloads of reasons to teach scales, but in my eyes, those are 2 big ones. And I like to think that I'm effective at teaching them because I have a clearly established purpose for those skills. I know the reasons my students are playing scales, and they know the reasons that they are playing their scales. Similarly, I get asked a lot of questions about technique in general. There are a lot of teachers out there who never received answers themselves on why our seating position really matters and why a rounded hand shape is so important. So, when I start to help teachers see that it all boils down to how our bodies move the most efficiently and why physical tension is the ultimate enemy, they have somewhere to go with that information. I can't tell you the number of teachers I've talked to who just tell students to curve their fingers without really understanding why it matters. Because if we don't understand why something matters, good luck convincing your students. Let's talk about method series for a moment, shall we? You probably know I have a lot of feelings about method series and why there isn't and never will be a curriculum that covers everything every student needs to know. It's not possible, so stop looking for it, okay? But I will say this. Depending on your circles of influence, there are some pervasive mentalities who act as though one method is superior to the others. Or, to the contrary, they turn their noses up at teachers who use certain methods. This results in teachers who come to me with beliefs that they should teach one specific curriculum because they've come to believe that's what superior teachers do. If you teach out of those books, you are clearly less evolved of a teacher than someone who uses these books, right? Well, each method has its fan base, and this mentality exists in the circles of almost all of them. Personally, I think one of the very best things any teacher can do is own copies of many method series and study them. There are nuggets of wisdom in any method series out there. They all have something to teach us and something we can carry into our work with every student. I will die on this hill. It makes me sad to talk to teachers who try to make a particular method fit just because they've been told that it's better than all the others, when it doesn't actually feel true to their own teaching style. Now, maybe it is, and maybe it's not. But if you, as the teacher, do not understand the method's fundamental approaches or why they're presenting material the way they do, if you are not convinced of the value of this method, there is no way you are using the materials to their intended benefit. Again, we cannot expect our students to care about the things that we ourselves do not care about. Now, as I say that, I can imagine some of you listening to say, exactly, I don't care about teaching scales, so I'm not going to. And okay, I'm not here to tell you the way to do your job. Same with improvisation, same with teaching pieces by rote, same with teaching classical music or with pop music. I don't think we can do it all, so I'm not here saying you should do it all. But can you name the benefits of these things? Do you understand why they're such a big part of the piano teaching world? If you can't explain why any of these things are important or why they are beneficial, I'd argue that you have some work to do. Because the truth is, we might be missing something. If we can't understand why others are finding so much value in something that we don't do, we probably need to study it more. Not because we're on a quest to do all the things, but because curiosity is a fundamental aspect of our work. And that doesn't mean only staying curious about the things we already know and love. It means keeping an open mind and asking questions about the stuff we don't yet understand. So, friends, I could go on, but I want to stay respectful of your time. I hope this episode has challenged you to examine the shoulds that you feel in your own life. Not with this usual advice just to let go of them, but instead to hold those narratives up to the light and see what you can find when you look at them from a new perspective with curiosity and wonder. I hope you will think about the pressures you are feeling about your work and what it is you think you should be doing differently. Don't let those feelings paralyze you or threaten you in any way, but instead get curious about them. Ask yourself why anyone should do the thing you're thinking about. If you come up with a great answer, then move forward slowly and methodically to incorporate what you want to do into your teacher life. And if not, let it go, friends. Should is a dangerous word, especially when it is left unexamined. I'm going to offer up a toast today, and then we'll celebrate our teacher friend of the week. Raise those glasses with me now, my friends. Studio teacher friends from all around the world, may we all take a moment this week to take stock of the shoulds that are taking up space in our minds. Let us examine which of those ideas we can let go of and which are pulling us toward a deeper understanding of our life and work. I'd be willing to bet we all have a few of each rolling around these brains of ours. So cheers to staying curious, my incredible teacher friends. Hear, hear. So I hope it's clear there are very few universal shoulds in teacher life. One of the many great things about our work is the fact that we have agency to make it our own. That said, I do think there are a few things that all great teachers should do, and I will be outlining those in this week's Piano Teacher Confession email. If you are not on that list, be sure to sign up at christinawhitlock.com/subscribe. I've put a lot of time and thought into my weekly confession emails these days. They are definitely more than another piece of inbox clutter. Speaking of the Piano Teacher Confessions e-letter, today's teacher friend of the week is someone who often engages with me from that list. Congratulations to Jenny Foch on being teacher friend of the week. Jenny is a longtime member of my Patreon community, and I always appreciate her insights when they land in my inbox or my DMs. Jenny is a music therapist who also teaches piano, flute, and ukulele, and she and I clearly share a heart for people, which is the whole foundation of this podcast and my work. I wanted to cheer Jenny on as she works to complete her master's degree in music education and piano pedagogy. She's already doing amazing work in life, and it's only up from here, Jenny. So, thanks, Jenny Foch, for all you are doing in this world, and congratulations on being Teacher Friend of the Week. That's it for today, friends. Don't be a stranger. Feel free to contact me via email at any time. You can find me at hello@christinawhitlock.com. That's hello@christinawhitlock.com. Onward and upward, my teacher friends.